Yo guys, welcome back to another video. This weekend we have a main event with the return of a legend, a GOAT, Israel, the last stylebender Adesanya, taking on number 14th ranked Joe Pyfer, who is now starting to climb the middleweight rankings. From being the prospect who was challenging a legend in Anderson Silva to being the legend himself and taking on a prospect 7 years later, Israel Adesanya wants that feeling of winning again, but has been saying all week that winning is not what matters to him. It's showing up and performing, being stylebender, being himself and what everyone knows him for being. And this could be his last chance at making the final run at the title. Joe Pyfer's looking to put some respect back on his name after people wrote him off in the loss against Jack Hermanson. The UFC returns to Seattle and the Pacific Northwest for back-to-back years. The last card was one of the best of 2025, and this one might turn out to be even better. But with that being said, UFC Fight Night Seattle, Adesanya vs. Pyfer. Will Izzy have another classic stylebender performance and get back in the win column? Or will Joe Pyfer finally prove that he deserves to be at the top of the middleweight division and get a win in Joe Pyfer fashion? This is my main event breakdown and my short full card predictions. Let's go. I just want to start it off by saying this. We all need to respect and appreciate Israel Adesanya while he's still here in the UFC. Not, None of us really know the amount of fights he has left in his career, or if he were to lose this fight, if that impacts his decision in any way. He said in an interview on his channel that he can see the finish of his career in the distance, the finish line of his career in the distance. I mean, he's an absolute legend and one of my personal favorite fighters ever, and in my opinion, the middleweight GOAT. I mean, yeah, you have to remember. I mean, he's been saying all week he feels that people don't really appreciate him and what he did when he was a champion and what a lot of people what a lot of champions don't do nowadays, and that's fighting all the time and being extremely active. Yes, Morale did that for quite some time as well, but really, Izzy and Kamaru at the time were really active all the time and had so much memorable moments, and I feel like that's the reason why a lot of us became big fans of the both of them at the time. And Izzy he's had so many memorable moments in the UFC, from the destruction of Derek Brunson to the iconic fight with Anderson Silva to one of the craziest fights ever with Kelvin Gastelum, KOing Robert Whitaker in that massive stadium, beating Paulo Costa with ease on Fight Island, defending his belt actively and losing it and reclaiming it against Alex Pereira, and what was one of the greatest moments in UFC history without a doubt. I just remember that moment like it was yesterday. I literally couldn't stop screaming. It was just insane. Um, but yeah, man, I could go on and on. He's just one of a kind, man. He's one of those guys that you either love or you dislike, but I absolutely love him. I absolutely love him. He's an absolute legend, and man, I don't care if I'm glazing, man. He deserves it. But anyway, yeah, man. As of right now, Izzy's currently on a 3-fight losing streak. Obviously, he hasn't won since getting that KO win over Alex Pereira, and it was back in 2023. Um, then went on to lose to Sean Strickland, Rodriguez Duplessis, and Nasruddin Imavov. But he's only lost to some of the best in the world. Like the guys we're talking about are like the guys that are at the top of the middleweight division, former champions. Sean's a former champion. Duplessis is a former champion. Nasruddin Imavov is right there, of on the brink of being a title challenger. Um, and Joe Pyfer has never fought anyone to the level of Izzy, let alone anyone in the top five ever. I mean, you just gotta respect it from Joe Pyfer. It shows that he's game and that he's very confident in himself and his ability. I mean, the first opponent that you're ever gonna fight in the top five is one of the best ever. So, I mean, it just speaks for itself. But this will by far be the biggest fight of his career and the hardest fight that he's ever had, as so far. I mean, Izzy still being older and at the end of his career is still giving these guys a ton of problems. I mean, he was fighting a good fight against Dricus and Imavov before he got finished in those fights. I think I think that's one of the big worries that everyone has in this fight for Izzy, and Joe Pyfer obviously being known for his big time KO power, and Izzy coming off of a KO loss. I feel like that's what makes it worse for a lot of Izzy fans. I mean, myself included. It's yeah, it's always in the back of the mind, but I just think Izzy's on a different level. I think in IQ and experience and some of the best striking ever. I mean, I think it's just a massive step up from who Pyfer has fought in the past. I mean, the one fight that everyone brings up for Joe Pyfer is the fight against Jack Hermanson. Obviously the loss to Jack Hermanson. His only loss in the UFC till now. Um, and that fight he was good early, fought well in moments throughout the fight as well. But as it went on into the later rounds, the experience of Hermanson really took over. Not only was the cardio of Hermanson better, but he just had more volume in some rounds. And I know it was Joe Pyfer's first five rounder in his career, but Hermanson after that fight he went on to receive some pretty nasty one shot KO losses, and Joe Pyfer in a 5 round fight couldn't even knock Hermanson down once. And Pyfer is known for his KO power, and I did see apparently that in that fight he did get injured, something to do with his eye. He couldn't see out of one eye for like half the fight. And it probably was a big thing in the fight, yes, but I'm just saying the way the fight turned out. Even in the Gastelum fight, he did knock down Gastelum twice in their fight early, but even then, as the fight went on, Gastelum kind of got into the fight a bit more, and he started to get more momentum towards the end, and he had success. Excuse me. Pyfer clearly Pyfer clearly won the fight in the end, but I'm just saying it seems that he starts to fade as the fights go on, and maybe that's changed now. Maybe he's adjusting now after having his first 5 rounder. Who knows? Maybe and a lot of Joe Pyfer's fights have been short, so he lacks that experience. But Joe Pyfer is pretty well rounded. I would say he is decent at pretty much everything. Obviously, has that big time power in his hands. Has a decent jab, good left hook. Is very quick and explosive in his movements. Has very fast and nice takedowns as well. Has a good shot on him, good kicks, good jiu-jitsu. Has the KOs, has the submissions. His only decision his only decision in the UFC was against Gastelum 2 fights ago. I think he does fight better on the front foot. Hermanson had a lot of success putting him on his heels. But even when he does fight on his back foot, he does look for some quick counters in combination to the head and the body. Um, but as I said, he's at his best when he's early in fights, and that's when he's at his most dangerous. Is when he's at his most explosive. And even if he does hurt you, he's relatively patient when trying to look for a finish. Has power. Obviously has power in his right hand, but can tend to telegraph it a lot and does miss with it a lot. He's usually just out of range for it to land, and he sometimes commits with everything with these punches, and he'll miss big. It's something he cannot do versus Izzy. Izzy's gonna look to counter that straight away, but I'll talk about that a little bit more later. But yeah, I would say his best. I would say Joe Pyfer's best shot, best punch that he has is his looping right hand. It's what he hurts everyone with that he's KO'd. I think when Izzy does go southpaw, he's going to look to land that very quickly. That 1-2 with the jab into the looping right hand. Either that or a lead left hook into a right hand when Izzy is southpaw. And for Pyfer, I feel the most things that he really gets caught with are low kicks and straight punches as well from his opponents. I remember Gaston landed a nice pause 1-2 on Joe Pyfer, and it was probably the best. It was like a pause 1-2 with like a little bit off the timing of what a quick 1-2 would be, and it was probably the cleanest combo that he landed. After that, Pyfer tried to level change and tried to get a takedown, and I think that paused off timing 1-2 is what Izzy is going to look to. It might be something that Izzy looks to land. He landed the same thing in the first Alex Pereira fight in the UFC, and at the end of the round, at the end of that first round, and it hurt Pereira badly. Obviously, and obviously, what we know from Izzy, he's one of the best. He's one of the best strikers ever. He's one of the best strikers ever. Feints all day long, gets people to bite on them and keeps them guessing. Very, very kick heavy. Low kicks, body kicks, high kicks, all different kinds of kicks, spinning kicks, question mark kicks, whatever. Constantly switches stances fluidly. Very good counterpuncher. Always stays at a good range for himself. And staying at that range is basically what his main defense is. Being just out of range, using his head movement. He can fight on the outside and use his footwork and outpoint you all day long, or he can look to keep the fight in the center and look to bait and counter you. He does well to get back up to his feet when taken down. He's always patient, always, and has a high level IQ. And as I said, he's on a completely different level to what Pyfer has fought before in his career. And I think when it comes to the fight, if Izzy wants to win, he has to keep the fight in the center, but at a good range. I think he has to get those kicks going early, as he always does, especially versus Pyfer, who gets caught with a lot of them. Feint, as you always do. He can't let himself get back to the cage. It was something that Pereira and Strickland as well had massive success with. Yes, Izzy fought well for pretty much five. He pretty much fought for 5 rounds on his back foot against Alex Pereira in their first fight in the UFC, and he fought well for the most part up until he got caught. And Izzy has gotten good counters from there. Obviously, knocked him out in the rematch that way. But it's usually what gets him in trouble, and it does get like. I think it's better off for him to find his rhythm in the center and not be too overly aggressive. Stay in that kickboxing range and use his footwork to keep it there. I think he should look to counter Joe Pyfer. Sorry, excuse me. I think he should look to counter Joe Pyfer when he overextends himself. Sorry, bro. I think he should look to counter Joe Pyfer when he does overextend himself, trying to land that big right hand. It is a bit, but it is a bit dangerous being in that range. But I think it's what could bring Izzy a finish. Adesanya all week has been talking about just wanting to perform, wanting to perform. I think he's gonna try to knock Joe Pyfer out. I really do. But I think either way favors Izzy. Whether he wants to get a finish or he wants to drag the fight out. He has way more experience than Pyfer in 5-round fights anyway. But for Pyfer, obviously adding on to what I said before, I think he should look to pressure Izzy, put Izzy on his back foot. Pyfer is much better being the aggressor than fighting on his back foot anyway. All of his success has come from being the aggressor in these fights. I think rather than going forward with 1 or 2 punches at a time, he should try to go forward in longer combinations. Izzy as well, when getting pushed back, sometimes chooses to exchange when up against the fence as well, and it's something that like Izzy is he's very smart. He has a high IQ, but sometimes he just likes to exchange with these guys, and I think in this fight it could be a very dangerous thing to do, especially if he's up against the fence. I think for Pyfer it would be good for him to I said for Izzy, he throws kicks every fight anyway, but I think for Pyfer it would be good for him to try to land his own kicks as well. I think it would benefit him. And both of these guys do like to hand fight a bit. I think it's something Obviously, Izzy works well off of it as well, but I think Pyfer does look to land big and explosive shots off of the that hand fighting, and Izzy has already been finished that way versus Imavov, and even earlier in the Imavov fight, he got caught with a big uppercut reaching, and with that being said, I don't think Pyfer wins this fight. Just keeping this fight on the feet. I think he has to take Izzy down. Izzy Izzy has been submitted before, and Pyfer has good ground and pound, good jiu-jitsu, and he has a submission wins. I think he has to try and time when Izzy comes forward in those moments and time a level change and get him down. Izzy has good takedown defense and he does very well to get back up, and he probably will more than once. But Joe Pyfer's gonna have to keep going for those takedowns and keep being persistent with it. I and he needs to set up a takedown. I think Joe Pyfer will get absolutely schooled and outpointed if he stays on the feet with Izzy the entire fight. But to give my official and final prediction for the main event, I'm gonna back my boy Izzy to win this fight. And if I'm being honest, I would have picked him even if he wasn't in a favorable matchup. But I truly think he can beat Joe Pyfer in impressive fashion. I really do. I think I think Adesanya will finish Joe Pyfer in either round 3 or 4 and get a TKO win. I, I just believe I just believe Izzy will stay in the center of the ring, constantly feint like he always does, chop at the leg of Pyfer, use his footwork as always. I think the footwork is a big thing that will really frustrate Joe Pyfer, and Izzy will wait to counter. Izzy will wait for Pyfer to overcommit with that right hand and leave himself overreaching and overextending and trying to land that big right hand, and will counter and catch him with a couple big shots and end it with some ground and pound. I just think, but I do just think he's gonna have to be extremely patient in those early rounds. Izzy's gonna have to be, because like I said, that's when Pyfer's his most dangerous, and he can't be getting pushed backwards the entire fight. Izzy cannot be going backwards the entire fight and just circle the cage. Like I said, I think he needs to stay in the center and wait to counter. But if Pyfer were to win, I think it would come via submission. I believe Pyfer. I believe Pyfer is going to struggle to find a home for his right hand, and it will frustrate him. And especially if it gets past the third round and still can't find success with his hands. I think Pyfer is definitely going to look to wrestle way more offensively and get it to the ground. And if he were to win, I think it would be by submission. But as I said, I'm backing my boy Izzy to win. I believe he can do it. This is a very exciting fight. It's a very dangerous fight for Izzy, but I think he'll get it done. I'm now gonna give my predictions for the rest of the card. First fight of the night: Alexia Thainara versus Bruna Brasil. Yeah, this is a rematch between the two of them. Um, they both fought back in 2019 when they were early in their pro careers. Brazil came out on top in their first meeting, winning by submission with a guillotine. Brazil made her debut in 2023, Thainara in 2025. Brazil, she's had a bit of a rocky UFC career so far. Thainara has not lost in her first UFC fight, in her first 2 UFC fights. Um, Her only loss in her entire pro career came from that first fight against Bruno Brazil. Um, Both of them share a win over Molly McCann. I'm gonna go for Thainara to get revenge in this rematch via decision. Moving to the next fight, Ricky Simone versus Adrian Yanez. Both of them are coming off losses. Simone to Barcelos in November via unanimous decision. Yanez last fought in December of 2024 and lost a split decision to Daniel Marcos. Both lost to pretty good fighters. Um, I do think the layoff for Yanez is going to play a big part in this fight, though. Simone before his last fight had put together some momentum, winning two in a row with good performances. One being in on the last Seattle card, getting a nasty KO win over Javid Basharat with a nasty right hand. It was so nasty. Um, Both of them have fought some pretty the guys at the top of the bantamweight division. Both have KO power. I'm gonna go with Pacific Northwest own Ricky Simone to get it done in Seattle once again. I don't know where that kind of rhymed, but yeah, this one should be a good fight though. This to me is one of the more exciting matchups on the card. But moving to the next one, Navajo Sterling versus Bruno Lopes. Both have five UFC fights between them. This will be Navajo Sterling's fourth appearance and Lopes' third. Um, Sterling is obviously a teammate of Izzy at CKB and is a very good kickboxer himself, with decent grappling for what's been shown, um, in his fight so far in the UFC. Um, Navajo had a lot of TKO wins before entering the UFC, but since joining has only won via decisions. But he's won against a pretty good competition in Adolfo Bellato and Ivan Urslan. Um, and he still has a lot of hype around him. And I personally think he's someone that could eventually get to the top of this division. I'm gonna go for Navajo Sterling to win by TKO. Um, Casey O'Neill versus Gabriela Fernandes. O'Neill O'Neill had a lot of hype at the start of her UFC career. Was on a 4-fight win streak, but recently she's been very inactive. Was out all of 2025. Last fought and beat Luana Santos by decision on the Dricus versus Izzy card, which is pretty crazy. It seems like it was quite some time ago. I mean, which it was obviously. Fernandez lost her first two UFC fights, and then after that went on to get a 3-fight win streak. Um, she has a win over Wang Kong before they were both ranked. I think Fernandez is a better striker with more power. O'Neill probably gonna look to get takedowns, and it's something that Fernandez struggled with. She struggled to staying on her feet when she had just joined the UFC, but she had better takedown defense in her last fight. I'm gonna go for Fernandez to win this fight. Um, but it should be a close one. Marcin Tybura versus Tyrell Fortune. I know this was a last minute fight. Tybura was meant to fight Walter Walker on this card, but I don't know if you guys know this. Tyrell Fortune in his last fight fought someone who was 9-6, and before that fought someone who was 52 years old. 52 years old. I mean, that's just absolutely insane. But anyway, I've personally, I've personally never been that much. I've been never been much of a Tibura fan and a fan of his fighting style, but he does have a lot of experience and has been in the UFC for quite a long time now. He's really only lost to two guys who are close to the top of the heavyweight division. I'm gonna say Tibura wins and probably by submission. Chase Hooper versus Lance Gibson Jr. Gibson made his UFC debut. His last fight was Bobby King Green. I was gonna say I was gonna say it was a close fight, but it really wasn't. I mean, Bobby Green won the fight pretty convincingly. Gibson just didn't have enough output in that fight. I mean, I don't even really know why Bobby Green was the first guy they had him fight, but can't remember if that fight was like a last minute replacement or something. Um, both guys are coming off losses, but I mean, nonetheless, I just think Chase Hooper is good enough to beat him. Hooper, very good grappler. Gibson did try to get takedowns versus Bobby Green, but he's not gonna try it in this fight. I got Chase Hooper to win in his hometown by submission. Next fight, Ignacio Bahamondes versus Tafik Musayev. I mean, the height and reach discrepancy in this fight is insane. I mean, Bahamondes nearly has a 7-inch reach advantage and is 6 inches taller than Musayev. That alone is already going to be tough. Both last fought on the same card in Azerbaijan. Bahamondes lost to Fiziev. Musayev had a very tough debut versus Odobai. Ultimately lost that fight by submission in the first. Musayev was fighting that fight against Odobai at a catchweight 165. This fight will be at lightweight where it's usually where he usually fights anyway. Gonna be at his normal weight class. I think this fight's gonna be really good. I think Musayev, he's mainly a striker. He's pretty quick. Switches stances. I think he has better kicks than he has punches. Mixes in a takedown every now and then. Even if he gets you down, he'll try to look to ground and pound you. He isn't really a guy that really goes for submissions. But he is a better striker than a grappler. He's good. I just feel he's a bit too reckless at times, and he's open to be hit with a lot of shots. Bahamondes has fought some very good guys. Um, he's tall and lengthy. I think he's gonna look to land a lot of kicks in this fight, like he always does. I'm gonna say Bahamondes wins and he gets back into the win column. I'm a big fan of Bahamondes, man. Now to the main card: Terrence McKinney versus Kyle Nelson. I mean, what do we know in the Terrence McKinney fight? There's always gonna be a finish. I mean, and it's most likely gonna be in the first round. I mean, McKinney has a 100% finish rate in every single pro fight that he's ever had, and in the UFC has only gone past round one twice. And in those fights that went past round one, they ended in round two. So he has the submissions, the TKOs, whatever. And getting those wins, he's never gotten a performance bonus one time. Not once, which is absolutely insane. But Nelson is coming off that weird win over Frivola. Everyone thought the ref called the fight, but apparently he didn't. It's a very weird one. Either way, he still got the win. And Nelson is a guy who always brings a good fight as well. He's very game. But I'm gonna go for McKinney to win the fight and get a finish in the first round in his hometown. Yeah, man, that one's gonna be crazy for as long as it lasts. Mansour Abdul-Malik versus Yusuf Belgaroui. One of the best and more intriguing matchups on this card for sure, I would say. I mean, Malik being the young up-and-comer, big prospect with a lot of hype, undefeated. He's never gone to a decision in his entire pro career, has a 100% finish rate. Belgaroui is one fight into his UFC career, but he's a very experienced guy in the kickboxing world. He actually fought Adesanya twice. He fought Alex Pereira 3 times. And he beat Alex 1 time. Got signed off the Contender Series. Had a pretty good debut as well. He was able to get up from being taken down. And then he eventually found a finish in round 3 in that fight. Malik has strong wrestling. He has a strong wrestling base. And Obviously, he had just had a submission win in his last fight, but he's also very confident in his hands and the power he has in his hands. I think this is going to be one of the better fights of the night. I'll go for. This is a tough one, but I'm going to go for Belgaroui to get the win in a tough fight. I think it's going to be really good, though. Juicy J Erosa versus Larian Douglas. Erosa, I mean, he's been around for some time. I mean, he just took Melquizael Costa to a decision. Someone who's a very very hot prospect at the moment. Douglas is making his UFC debut after the KO win on the Contender Series. He's on a 5-fight win streak, all by TKO. I mean, and Douglas he looks like he has some serious power, and I think he's going to continue the momentum of winning. I think he's going to get it done by knockout in this fight. I really do. But Julian Rosa is very very experienced, so it should be good. Michael Chiesa versus Nico Price. Both are veterans of the sport. This will be Chiesa's retirement fight, as he said. I mean, dude, what a better way to retire, to have your last fight in your hometown. And I think it will be even better for him because I think he's going to get the win in this one. I'm going to say Chiesa wins in Chiesa fashion by submission. I'm going to say he does it in round 2. Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber. Obviously a rematch from their fight in 2021. Grasso got the win in that fight. Macy Barber was very young at the time and very early into her UFC career. It was actually the last time Macy Barber lost. It's very crazy to say. She has had a lot of canceled fights in her career though. Alexa Grasso is trying to get a win after back-to-back losses to Shevchenko and Natalia Silva. Hasn't won since winning the belt against Shevchenko. I would say Grasso won the first fight 2-1 on the scorecards in the end. Barber in that fight probably had her best round in the third. The first 2 rounds were pretty competitive, but it was very clear that Grasso had won the first 2. And Barber went for it late. I mean, like I said, she won that third round, had her best round by far. She tried to turn it up. She really tried to turn it up late in the fight, but it was just a bit too late. And it was a pretty competitive fight, the first one. Alexa Grasso has decent boxing, good jiu-jitsu, good trips when she's in the clinch. And if she does get taken down and is on her back, she'll look for submissions. Or even when she's on the ground in general, she looks for submissions. The only finishes Alexa Grasso has gotten in her entire career have been submissions. She's decent on the feet and she can win the fight there and cruise to a decision, but and win the fight on her feet with her boxing, but she's more likely to get a finish when the fight is on the ground. Macy Barber has decent hands. But she mainly just looks to take her opponents down and land some ground and pound and try to finish a fight. I think this is going to be another competitive fight between the two of them. But I'm going to go for Alexa Grasso to be victorious again in the rematch by decision. And yeah, man, that this was my main event breakdown and my full card predictions. Like I said earlier, this is it's a very dangerous fight for Izzy, and being a fan of him, I just want to see him. I want to see him perform and do what he does best and go out there and get the win on Saturday. I'm very excited. I'm actually gonna be there in attendance. I'm gonna be there live in the arena. I'm super hyped. I cannot wait. Yeah, I mean just even the thought of being able to see Izzy fight and just having that opportunity to see him is really crazy. I actually can't believe it. Yeah, man, it's very like surreal. It's very crazy. Um, I can't wait. Like I said, it's gonna be a banger. The card is gonna be a banger. I think it'll be even better than the first one. Let me know which fight you're looking forward to most on this card. And yeah, man. Thank you guys for watching again. Thank you for your time. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.